Welcome to a Council of Black Belts. I'm Shihan Scott Phillips. I hold the current ranking of 8th Dan, and I am Nidai Soki, second generation head of family, Aido-Ryu. I'll be the moderator of this episode entitled Being Moral. What is a Council of Black Belts? It is simply what the name implies. A group of black belts from various martial arts styles coming together to openly discuss various topics in and around the martial arts. In addition, it's an open and honest discussion not only in martial arts studies and/or instruction, but on how to incorporate the martial arts into one's daily life. Our topic of discussion today is being moral. A moral is a belief that is right or wrong. You should act and treat others according to your morals, which are your ideas about right and wrong. Being moral is when an individual is concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior. Hence, the concept of being moral is to be concerned with what is right or just versus what is wrong or unjust, and strive to do as well as demonstrate what is right and what is just. Biblically, morality is to do with right and wrong, good and bad, personal or social behavior, based on certain standard of conduct. A biblical example of this comes from Exodus, chapter 20, verses 1 through 17, known as the 10 Commandments, which represents a moral standard of conduct. From the Guardian's Manual from World Martial Arts Congress, the character trait being moral. Definition: concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior and the goodness or badness of human character. A person's standard of behavior or belief concerning what it is and is not acceptable for them to do. In daily life, once a person outside the training hall learns that a person is a guardian or a guardian in training, they will be observed as he or she comes and goes and will observe them in their interactions with other people. A guardian in training must be taught that they, in their personal and public conduct, represent all guardians. The public will judge all guardians by the actions of the guardian they chance to meet or to observe. In their daily life, a guardian or a guardian in training must always act in a manner to bring respect upon all guardians. In the training hall, wrong behavior in the training hall must be addressed immediately by a master or instructor, and all those in the training hall need to observe that the wrong behavior is being addressed. Failure to address bad behavior is to condone it, and this is a slippery slope that no school may afford to allow. That being said, it's imperative that no guardian in training can be held to a standard which has not been explained to him or her. The first question that a master instructor or instructor needs to ask in the event of bad behavior is, why are we having this discussion? If the guardian in training did not know that he or she was involved in bad behavior, that lack of knowledge becomes the real issue. This is an opportunity for education and mentoring rather than disciplinary action. Our panel is now open for discussion. What are your thoughts and/or experiences with being moral? Please feel free to share your thoughts as well as additional topics you would like to see discussed. If you're interested in being a part of a Council of Black Belts, please let me know. We also have begun an additional topic to our discussions called What Would Sophie Say? This is a segment that will allow us to hear the thoughts from those no longer with us on this side of the dojo. If you have a sensei who's no longer with you on this earthly journey, please share his or her thoughts on a topic, and we will include such thoughts when the topic is discussed. I look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to me via email, aido-ryu1982@gmail.com. That's AIDORYU1982@gmail.com. We hear from Grandmaster Richard Hackworth on his thoughts on being moral. On the topic of being moral, I first fall back to something that I learned in Taekwondo, where we memorized a list of moral principles based on Korean warrior ideology adapted from the book Muyi Dobon Tangjin, written in 1400. Taekwondo moral principles. Be loyal to your country. Be obedient to your parents. Be loving between husband and wife. Be cooperative between brothers. Be respectful to your elders. Be faithful between friends. Establish trust between teacher and student. Always respect all living things. Never retreat in battle. Always finish what you start. Although this was written over 5 centuries ago, the list is still accurate for developing the strength of character that gives us a moral society. It starts with the individuals having strong morals. This leads to families with strong morals. Beyond that, we grow to be a community, then even a society of moral people who have a strong sense of right and wrong to establish a system of justice, rules, or laws. Being loyal to one's country begins with being a good citizen. Following the laws and setting a good example for your family members is a responsibility of good citizenship. Being obedient to our parents is the first step of character development that all children will experience. Those early lessons in life are the foundations of our moral strength. Being loving between husband and wife teaches the children about respect and loyalty. A parent's behavior sets the tone for all moral decisions in the home. Being cooperative between brothers teaches us that teamwork will always accomplish more than if we face challenges alone. By being cooperative, we learn to share responsibilities for the greater good of the group. Being respectful to your elders is important to any good society. They have the experience of life to give an insight into problems that we face in our youth. They can counsel us and advise us on what appropriate action to take when facing difficulty in life. Being faithful between friends teaches us many things. Loyalty is perhaps the most prized quality in any kind of relationship. Establishing trust between teachers and students is important to me as a martial arts teacher, and it starts the moment a student enters the class. Have a conversation with your class about how trust is important in all relationships as well as in learning. Always respect all living things. It is a concept deeply rooted in Asian culture. People need to respect nature and living things because the environment is important. Never retreat in battle is a part of the warrior's code in every culture for good reason. This lesson applies to all difficulties that we face in life. Never retreat. In battle means do not give up and walk away from what challenges you because something seems hard or difficult to accomplish. Stay the course. Always finish what you start. This phrase has a strong effect on being moral because it is an essential part of keeping your word to others. Finishing things you start has a significant impact on your traits. Whether you practice Taekwondo or some other martial art, I hope that you can understand how these things help us to be moral people. Try applying some of these thoughts and strategies in your life for better results. Next, Dr. R.W. Stone shares his thoughts on being moral. The ethical man knows it is wrong to cheat, while the moral man would simply not cheat. Ducky on the CBS series NCIS. People demonstrate pro-social and moral behavior when they share, help, cooperate, communicate, sympathize, or in other ways they demonstrate an ability to care about others. While morals tend to be driven by personal beliefs and values, there are certainly some common morals that most people agree on, such as always telling the truth, not destroying the property of others, being courageous spiritually as well as physical, keeping your promises, refusing to cheat, treating others as you want to be treated, not judging without all the facts, being dependable. The above bears a remarkable resemblance to the tenets of the martial arts as based on Korean warrior ideology adapted from the book Mu Yi Danbao Tangjin, written in the 1400s. Martial artists are no longer thought of as merely brute fighters, but rather as patriotic warriors, guardians, and protectors of the citizenry. Just as most military services have a code of conduct and penalties for violation of moral standards, the martial arts have their tenets. Sadly, however, there is little repercussion today for behavior that violates these tenets. When one examines the violations of moral issues that surround the martial arts of today, one could include such things as misrepresentation of one's credentials and skills to gain admittance to an organization or attract students, fraud, whether financial or thought, some sort of falsification, immoral behavior towards students, relatives, or other members of the martial arts community, illegal activities such as distribution or use of illegal drugs, sexual improprieties, drunken behavior, or things such as assault and battery. Activities or behavior which brings dishonor, privately or publicly, to the parent organization. In the past, sadly, there have been cases of sexual abuse in select martial arts schools, brutality towards innocent students or lower ranks, and several other behaviors that have brought shame and disrespect to the martial arts. Some instructors have sold rank or claimed rank from non-recognized institutions, or worse yet, have even invented rank. One such school even posted a framed certificate from a Shaolin temple establishing the credentials for the instructor. This was impressive until someone who spoke Chinese realized it was a framed receipt from an imported Chinese fireworks. In another case, a Korean instructor proudly referred to his Kikuwan master certificate on the wall of his dojang. Proudly, that is until a Grand Master fluent in Korean read it for what it really was, namely a framed copy of his Korean Army discharge papers. When they say that one bad apple ruins the barrel, they may have been thinking of martial arts in the West. Without a legal or governing body, some martial artists, motivated by greed or ego, have betrayed the tenets of the martial arts by unscrupulous behavior and the realization that there would be no repercussion. With the advent of the international communities uniting the internet and the establishing legitimate parent standards, it is hoped that soon there will be such repercussions and penalties for these actions. Truthfully, however, morality must be taught, learned by following good example, and accepted early on. Honesty is the best policy, but it must be felt internally, since mere punishment is usually not enough for an immoral individual. Rinshi Jeff Winters shares his thoughts on being moral. Harmony is the most important moral precept in Taoism. Taoism teaches the world is divine and human interference often destroys the natural order. Consequently, Taoists seek to maintain natural harmony. Worldly forces such as darkness and light balance each other out, and moral Taoists respect this balance without tipping it in any way through their actions. Taoists forbid actions that would violate this balance, such as murder, lying, or promiscuity. Similarly, Taoist morality emphasizes self-control, and followers should avoid letting their desires compel them toward action. This episode is dedicated in the memory of Grandmaster Y.A. Smith Jr., born January 26, 1942. Left this earth June 29, 2022. Rest in peace, Grandmaster. It's an honor to have trained with you and an honor to have called you brother. Biblically, morality is to do with right and wrong, good and bad, personal or social. In another case, a Korean instructor proudly referred to his Kikyuan master's certificate on the wall of his dojang. Proudly, that is until a Grand Master fluent in Korean read it for what it really was, namely a framed copy of his Korean Army discharge papers. When they say that one bad apple ruins the barrel, they may have been thinking of martial arts in the West. Without a legal or governing body, some martial artists, motivated by greed or ego, have betrayed the tenets of the martial arts by unscrupulous behavior and the realization that they were